Is it warm like when you take clothes out of the laundry?
Yes. There's a lot of weight here. Like, it's a big brim,
Yeah.
and I move a lot, right? So there's a lot of inertia going on, and it doesn't feel floppy or sloppy.
You're not afraid, like, if you heard somebody cock a pistol and you were to whip your head around, you'd be afraid of it flying off.
Like, if you did like a, if you did like a big,
Yeah,
you know,
here we go. Hey, partner.
Like,
Yeah, right? There you go. Yeah, that's good. Oh, hello there. This episode of The Modern Rogue brought to you by Squarespace. Head on over to squarespace.com/rogue. Get 10% off at checkout. See, it works. It's genius. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. It looks kind of like an Imperial.
It looks a little Dalek-esque.
Illuminate, illuminate. All right, Ryer, we're on a quest to get you the perfect hat. We have an idea of the style.
Right,
now
right.
we have to rely on the expert, the doctor himself, Jimmy Pierce. Thank you so much, Jimmy. I know we're about to learn how hats are made, but first I have to know, what are all these beautiful, wonderful, old Westy-looking toys?
If somebody were to walk in and they say, I want another hat like this one and I want it to fit exactly the same. First, you gotta know what size that hat is. So you come right here and you swing this around. You don't let that go.
It's a piece of spring steel, okay.
You let it go and it tells you what size it is. And that one's halfway between a 7 1/4 and 7 3/8.
So I noticed that it naturally stopped there, but then you gave it a tug. I guess.
Because this oval of the hat and the oval the spring wants to be in are not always the same.
Got it.
So some people will take these and hold them here and just let them go where they'll spring really hard.
Because the band
I
itself.
like to be a little more gentle on it.
So
they're old.
So the size the hat is the circumference of that shape.
The size of the hat is actually
Or the
the
perimeter.
diameter if it was round.
So total
it
inches.
is 23 1/8 inches. Divide by 3.14 gives you 7 3/8. So it is what the diameter would be if it was round, and that's where hat sizes come from.
Got it.
At least American hat sizes, that's where they come from. British hat sizes are one off because they're doing the size of the felt without the sweatband.
Yeah, and that makes sense because I assumed that the original felt that you start with, it starts as a circle and then becomes an oval.
Yes.
Okay.
This is a stretcher. If somebody's hat's a little bit tight, you stick it on there and you steam it first, and then you stick it on there.
What do you do if it's too loose? Is there a shrinker?
There's multiple ways to shrink a hat. One is turning the sweatband out and steaming the back side of it a little bit and then cooling it off as quick as you can.
Oh, like literally like shrinking a sweater.
Another one is just leave it in your car on a day that's rather warm and sunny and no
No
shrink.
kidding.
Yep.
There's more than one way to shrink a hat.
Yes, there is.
That's awesome.
That's why it's better to buy a hat that's just a hair loose than too tight.
I would
It's
have
because
thought that.
even just wearing a hat that's a little bit loose will make it shrink down to your
I thought
head
it would
size.
be the exact
It's
opposite.
the same here.
No,
Same
a
here.
hat will never stay from trying to be stretched.
Well,
Yeah.
Every Western wear store in the country is lying to you. This is a hot stamp machine. This does the nice embossings on the sweatbands.
So this is traditional like leather craft stuff.
Oh yeah.
so do you have like a foil that you're hot stamping into the leather to get metallic?
You take this right here. As you can see, I've used that one a bit.
Oh yeah.
You need to cut the end of it off, but when you put the leather up here and you lay that over the top, when you stamp it, it transfers.
And if someone said like, oh, I'd rather it be more like a brand, would you just stamp it without the foil, or is that something different?
Yeah.
Okay.
On most of my lighter colored sweatbands, unless there's a specific request for a color or for a foil, I just do them as more of brands.
Is that your maker's mark that you're having put in there, or?
No, I do my liners that have my maker's mark.
Okay.
I have not had a hot stamp made yet. On one side, I'll put the material it's made from. It'll say handmade pure beaver, handmade 50% beaver. On the other side, it'll be custom made for and the person's name.
Okay.
So do you put individual like letters in to do something like that? Yeah. So It's like an old printing press, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a nice set of letters and put whatever somebody wants in there, even stuff that's really weird, like they have inside their jacket. And
It's good old pixel vision.
so this was invented in the late 1800s by a guy named Ali Millard in Paris. It was originally invented in order to fit top hats to people.
I was about to say, it looks straight up like a top hat.
Top hats. and you do that, and you do that, and you mess their hair up.
What is happening?
All the fingers go out. It's like one of those wire dills that they do for head massage.
Yeah.
Just say it actually felt pretty good.
I was like,
Everybody
now
always
I'm
thinks it's
jealous.
gonna be some torture thing, and it's like, no, it actually feels pretty good.
Are you having a moment, Ryer?
Well, I also kind of felt like Doc Brown in the first Back to the Future when he's like,
Yes,
"Don't
when he
say
comes to the
anything.
door.
Don't-"
Now we have a template of your head.
Whoa! I didn't even know it was doing that.
Yep.
Whoa!
So this is straight up just a miniature of his actual
Yep.
head shape. Oh, did you know your head did that?
You know, when I was born, apparently I was such a big child that when my mom pushed me out, I had a loaf of bread head. It was like stretched down the back. I looked like one of the aliens from Alien.
For real?
Yeah.
Wow.
So then, the template goes on the plotting board. And you loosen all of these.
I get it. So one is just the measurement, and then we want to take the measurement and essentially craft the scaffolding, the mold, I guess.
Recreate the oval of the head with all of its bumps and crevices
Character.
and dents, and you get it all tightened down.
Oh, and you want it tight because you're about to sculpt the band and the hat
So-
around that.
This then goes right in there.
Wow.
And so now we're gonna bully the hat into being the shape of Ryer's head.
Yes. So as you can see, you put the head shape in there and it gets distorted. Then you take it and you iron that back out flat, and then it stays the right oval. Because what you have here is two circles connected by an infinite number of points. You move the inside circle, the outside circle moves.
Right.
So if you then repress everything so that it is flat and the inside circle and the outside circle match again, with it being flat, it'll stay and it won't ever give you that bite in the front of your forehead. And
Yeah,
it
you
won't
want
ever...
Dude, that's amazing.
This is what really and truly makes a hat fit.
Yeah.
You know, I've always wanted an X-ray of my own skull. But I can never get any doctor just to give a recreational X-ray.
Recreational X-ray.
There
This
you
is the
go.
closest I've ever gotten. That's so cool.
So somebody comes in, they get measured, we know the type of hat. Where do we go from here?
Now it's time to start making a hat to fit that head.
Well, let's go.
Can I keep this?
Yeah.
He's like, no, that's part
No,
of the
it's
sacred
mine.
property of the Hatters Union.
It goes back to like the back room. He's got a library card catalog full of every single head he's ever measured.
As we talked about, the felt is made from beaver fur, for the most part, on a
And,
good hat.
and we mentioned that it's all you told me the type of fiber. What kind of fiber?
It's the fur, the undercoat.
The undercoat,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
and it gets all kinked up
This
and
is the
interlocked.
first step in making a hat body.
And this is very pleasant and
Loose.
soft. Yeah.
Soft. It's like dryer lint if you watch 10 loads of laundry and didn't clean out the...
Oh yeah.
it comes apart
yeah.
easy.
It's like somebody has a puppy.
So that then gets shrunk to something like this.
and this is
This would be called a hood.
okay. It feels
It's
the
very
way I think of a
dense,
hat.
Yeah, and then that gets flared and rounded on the top.
And that happens entirely just with stretching?
Yes, lots of steam, lots of pressure.
So when you get the stuff,
This is what I get.
okay, got it. So you have any old Joe could do anything up to this point, and you just need to know that the type of materials.
The type of material, the color they want, and the stuff about their head and the style we're gonna make, and then I start from there.
Right. So this is the equivalent of the painter. Like just give me a solid canvas.
Yep. So you come in here, and all of these blocks, you've got. So the first number here is the profile. There's no actual correlation of, a 51 is less than a 55. They all have different style names from when they were made in order. They
Got it.
wanted to
So-
make a new style, they gave it the next number.
Just happen. Okay, so these are more like model numbers.
Yeah. So the 52 is the profile or the model number. The 5 3/4 is the height of the block, and the 7 5/8 is the size of the head.
So this is kind of like you're a boot or shoemaker.
Yes,
cobbler,
this
right?
is the last.
And it's the last, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I've got 51 regular ovals, I've got 51 long ovals, I've got 52s, which are a straighter, flatter block, and then we have all of those up there that are even other stuff.
Okay, so you guys had discussed what type of hat Ryer wants.
Yeah.
Where is your head at this point of the journey?
Actually, that block right there that's in that hat is the one I would use to make his.
Oh, sorry, that's somebody else's hat.
That one's gonna be made in the next week, yeah.
Okay.
But that's the one I would start with to make his.
So you've got some blocks that look older, like they've been around.
Yes.
And are those, and above that you look like you have newer
So
ones.
here's the interesting thing of how to date a hat block. See
Take it
how
out
this
for a
one
nice
is
dinner.
all one piece?
Yeah.
That's probably before 1910.
Okay.
Wow. There has to be a robust trade of used hat blocks.
Yes.
Similar to
And
like whiskey
finding
barrels
all
or
the
something.
ones
Right.
that you want to match your sets is a big issue. So this one is 2 pieces with a split down the middle.
Okay.
So that would be the next iteration. As kiln drying lumber became a bigger and bigger thing, boards got narrower. You didn't have pieces thick enough to make a hat board.
Or it would be prohibitively expensive to chop
Then
down
you
a
get
tree.
to the 3, and that's the last iteration. That was in the 40s. When you had 3 divisions. Nowadays they build them with stacked pieces like these up here on top.
So it looks like some are segmented more than others.
Yes.
And it looks like there's a different orientation of the grain. Can you tell if there's a difference with the end grain or the face grain?
All of the blocks made 100 years ago, the grain ran vertically. Nowadays, when you buy blocks, they run the grain horizontally.
Right.
Woodworkers have just changed their style. I don't have enough experience with new blocks to tell you whether one's better than the other or not.
Gotcha.
Most of my work is on the old ones.
So you steam the felt to shape it around the block. Do you have to seal the blocks at all? Does that cause any problems with
No,
the expansion?
actually, you
or-
don't want them sealed.
You don't.
If you are using them consistently and often, you don't want them sealed because the moisture will keep them from cracking from all the steam.
Interesting.
If you seal a block, all of the moisture from the steam builds up in the felt and can cause problems with the stiffener.
Oh, okay.
So you have to be very careful about how much steam you put into the felt if you have a sealed block. You don't have to be as careful, and you can put more steam on it if you have an unsealed block.
Does the steam cause any grain
No,
expansion?
because it's poplar.
Oh, okay, cool.
All the old blocks are poplar, which poplar doesn't have a grain that raises up when it gets wet.
Right.
That's why it's used for paint grade trims. Like high-end paint grade trims are always going to be poplar.
Interesting. We mentioned shoe lasts, right? I know a lot of lasts you want to make out of wood, so that way you can hammer your nails in the
Yes.
bottom and stretch the leather.
There is some doing that with hats, but not the hats that I make.
So why not use something like aluminum or something where you don't have any of these
Same
problems?
reason. Moisture builds up in the felt versus passing through the felt and into the wood. I know that now they're doing some 3D printed blocks. I wonder how long those are going to last getting heated over and over and over
Right.
again, or if they're going to start to break down, or if you get them hot enough to melt them.
Right.
I mean, you'd ruin one.
I can picture a world where you just walk in and you just wave a camera around someone's head and print out
Yeah.
a thing and
Laser.
Yeah, exactly.
Laser scanner. They'd probably have to shave their head to do it now,
Yeah.
because the scanners don't go through hair that well.
Yeah, sure.
But I could see it working.
Yeah, all right. So where are we at on this one?
So we're about to steam this one to get the process started. We're gonna steam it onto the block, we're gonna iron the brim, and then we're gonna stick it in the plating machine.
So you're just mixing and matching head sizes versus brim sizes?
This is
or
just
brim
an
shapes?
oversized one.
Okay.
But yes, that's what all of these are. Different sizes, different
And what
profiles.
are the different names? Or are we
It's the
back to
same
model
kind of deal,
numbers?
model numbers.
Yeah.
You gotta have a different one for different brim widths, for different sized heads, and for different model numbers.
Got it.
So the larger collection of flanges and blocks a hatter has, the more types of hats he can make.
Yeah.
And do it well.
Are there hatters who, like, they make one?
Most more modern hatters have picked a style that they want to make rather than being able to make everything.
Okay.
So.
So how do you know when it's done?
When it gives a little more.
Okay.
You can tell by how tight the felt is. And you also look here and make sure there's not a bubble under the top. So you've got it stretched down as far as it'll go.
So that seems like a very wet steam, which
Yeah.
obviously you probably want. About the temperature of that?
Oh, it's 220,
Okay.
212. I mean, steam doesn't get any hotter unless you keep it under pressure.
Right.
And a lot of pressure.
Right.
So what do we do? Oh, okay. So now we're flattening the brim.
Yeah. And I mean, it's still kind of rigid at the moment, but just steaming it that much, and it's real soft. So you get the whole thing good and soft, and at the same time, you're working the crease to create a good band line.
So in this case, we're starting with a flat canvas and then we're going to shape it the way we want. But
Yep.
is there ever a reason you would want to do the reverse? Take an existing hat and flatten it?
I do it often. That's what you do when you're gonna change the shape.
All right, what is this beast?
This is, I've always learned it as a plating machine. Some people call it a brim breaker. Some people call it a brim iron. But it presses that brim out, gets it really flat so you can start with the next steps of the process.
So how long does it sit in here?
5-10 minutes.
Oh, that's it. Okay, just long enough for all of the moisture to go away.
Yep.
And I guess it's a dumb example, but you get up, take a shower, you get out of the shower.
It always takes a little while for your body to let go of the moisture from the shower.
Yeah, and like when you're styling your hair, whatever shape your hair's in, when the moisture leaves is how your hair wants to be for the rest of the day.
And if you've got a felt that's stubborn and doesn't want to do what you want it to, you put it under there and you turn it off.
Okay.
And you leave it in there until the whole thing cools down.
Got it. Oh, so this is heated.
Yes.
That's okay. So the weights are to keep everything flat.
No, the weights here are to raise the weight of the plate. The arms here push down.
Oh.
Yeah, this is all cast iron and everything, so that probably weighs quite a bit.
Yeah. So,
I see now. Got it. That's the counterweight so that it pulls
Yep.
up. Okay. Got it.
All of your equipment looks to be old cast iron. How old is all this?
The blocks and the flanges date from the late 1800s to the 1940s. Those two brim presses on the table, those are 1920s. This is probably from the late 20s, early 30s.
Now, do most people get the old equipment, or?
If they can find it.
Got it. Is that a point of pride for you?
I started this before a lot of other people wanted to start making hats, so I was able to find a lot of the older equipment at the time and for much cheaper than what it goes for now. As an example, I got this machine for a couple $1,000s. To buy a new one made now with a set of plates is $16,500.
Wow.
Are the new ones cast, or are they like plate steel that's been cast?
Steel tubing a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't work with you quite as much, right?
No.
Yeah, okay.
The one company that's building them, it's got a hydraulic ram to raise and lower the plate instead of doing it by hand, so. Or is it pneumatic? One or the other. But now we have a flat brim.
I can't believe what a difference that
We have a
makes.
good
That
brim
was
break.
so satisfying.
Yeah. and like so many other things, I'm like, it's done now, right?
No, now it sits there and it cools off. This is a brim cutter. Brim jack is what it used to be called. But it measures off of the crown to cut an even brim width.
Is that just a regular razor blade in there, or what?
Well, this one actually still has its original razor blade from the 30s.
What? Do you sharpen
And I sharpen it, yeah.
No kidding. Look at that. From the 1930s? Oh, that's lovely.
Just a little small blade. I actually need to make some more of those for my other ones. But I use like the curved X-Acto blades in some of them.
Yeah.
So you got this metal piece here that just clamps on the ribs of the wood to hold it. So the bolt comes up through and it lets it slide in and out. And then you tighten it down where you want it to be at.
It's very cool. What do you do with all the ring off cuts?
Sometimes you make bands out of them. Mostly they get thrown away.
Okay.
If somebody wants them for a project, let me know.
We recycled them back into beavers.
That would be impressive if somebody figured that out.
And that's where vanilla comes from.
We donate them to the Naked Beaver Project. Whoops.
All right, so it goes there.
Oh, something just turned down there.
Oh, dear. Well, that was dangerous.
That's where
I
Merkins
might
come
have grabbed
from.
your jacket, that's all.
Cheap
Put a
birds.
spring on there. And as you can see, that's hot. You should just assume anything that's metal in a hat shop is hot.
Yeah.
But
So this is...
so that machine, the plating machine irons the brim.
Uh-huh.
This machine irons the crown.
And what material is that touching up top?
This?
Yeah.
It's just a hunk of steel
Okay. All right.
with a heating element in it.
And this is, again, we're just matching the exact curvature up top.
Yeah, it's you got the weight hanging down here, pulls this against the hat, and then the motor back here turns the hat. This gear that comes off a worm in the middle
I just realized I'm close to a lot of finger-grabbing things.
takes this and moves it around. So it'll follow around the hat this way and then go back the other way.
Can you adjust the speed at which it does that, or is it all set by the weight?
No, it's actually set by the speed of the motor.
Okay.
Which, yes, I've been looking at an adjustable speed motor to put
Yeah.
on it, but I haven't.
Just get a variac. They'll
Yeah,
modify
yeah.
anything. Yeah.
So how much, now that I see how much craftsmanship and labor goes into each one, how much should people expect to pay for a hat?
Mine start at $600 and go up to $1,200, $1,300 in general.
That's a high anxiety decision considering it's
Yes.
going to be the shape of your face and it's very expensive.
That's why you go custom.
Yeah.
Any good custom hatter can look at your face and decide and help you decide what kind of shape, but that's even really not the right question. What you're really doing is taking the general idea of the shape the person wants and adjusting it in minute proportions, eighths of an inch, quarters of an inch, to suit their face. And that's why you go to custom, is because an off-the-shelf hat is not really going to look that good on anybody. It's kind of made to suit a generalized face. Nobody has a generalized face.
We were
Yeah.
talking about that, where it's like airplane cockpits, right?
Yeah. In the
Yeah.
book Alchemy, they talked about how there was a default normal size cockpit. They took the average height, the average weight, the
Yeah.
average hand size or whatever.
And it doesn't fit anybody.
Exactly. Everybody was like, I hate it for this reason. Yeah.
Yep. Either the controls are too close,
Yep.
the controls are too far away, the pedals are too far, whatever. And everybody's different, especially when you're talking whole body.
Yeah.
Because where the waist sits on a person changes.
Yeah.
Like legs are shorter, but body's longer, even if they're the same height. So it's the same thing with faces. The proportions, like, if you're talking art and doing portraiture, you study the fifths rule and all this other stuff. And you got to kind of have a feel for that if you're doing hats. So
Yeah. I'd imagine you develop a kind of radar where it's
Well-
like you're constantly analyzing.
I got his head size right off the bat.
You did.
He did.
Yours is a little smaller than I expected, but
Yeah, I've heard that one before.
I've heard that about you too, actually.
back on.
So do you ever have someone who comes in there like, I want this hat, and you're like, no.
Actually, yes, and he's one of my best customers.
And he looks like an idiot every time he walks in.
No. He after I shaped it the way he wanted, I put it on his head, and he just took one glance in the mirror, and I went, nope, and took it back off of his head. And I was like, and took the shape out and started over.
So you did it knowing.
I did it knowing it wasn't
Yeah.
going to suit him.
But that's what a good
What's one of
custom.
the best parts about being an artisan is, right? Is that you
Yeah.
get to go like, oh, no, you're not walking out of my shop looking like that. No
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
That guy brings at least a dozen people a year in here to get hats.
That's awesome.
That's
So-
really cool.
So where do we go from here?
Here we go right behind you.
Okay.
So now we go here and we go like this and spray it with the other bottle. Don't use the blue one, use the gray one.
What's the blue one?
I'm not telling y'all that.
All right.
And you sit here like this.
Now this I guess okay. So
to sand the finish to get a good smooth.
Oh, you can see the difference immediately.
Yep.
Oh, that's tasty.
And that's just the first step of several.
Yeah. I would never have thought about polishing fur.
This is the longest process of the hat making, the longest step of the hat making process.
Yeah.
What grit are you sanding with?
It's everywhere from 100 grit up to 600, 800 grit.
Is that more the finish you're going for, or the type of felt you're working with?
Both.
Okay.
It's the finish on the type of felt.
Gotcha.
Every type of felt, if I work with 3 different kinds of felt, 4 different kinds of felt, and there's 3 to 4 different finishes, there's 12 versions of this process.
Interesting.
How do you know when you're done on this phase?
That's actually the hardest thing to know as a hatter, is when to quit and when to go to the next step. So after you're done with your sanding,
That looks gorgeous.
So cool.
and now it's time to put in the interior.
Awesome. I love the way it looks up on the top.
Yeah, it'll all look like that. Once you have the liner and the sweatband all in the hat, we don't have an outside band yet, but that'll get put on here in a little while. Now it's time to fit the hat to the person's head.
If a hat gets dirty, how do you clean a hat?
First step is just hat brushes or lint rollers.
So you're actually scraping away some of the flesh of the hat.
Not with brushes. You're trying to pull the dirt out from between the fibers.
But let's say somebody with greasy fingers tries to start a fist fight at a bar.
That's the more aggressive steps.
Yep.
The better way to do it is to take it to somebody and have it cleaned.
Okay.
You can try using just lightly with a little bit of sandpaper to take off the surface. I use a couple of different chemicals and different things to pull those back out of the hat in order to get stuff clean. If you get mud on a hat, let it dry first.
Yeah.
And then try and knock it off. If you get blood on a hat, hold it under cold running water as soon as you can before the blood dries.
And that's
it'll pull it out.
because the protein gets out
Yes.
protein? Yeah, okay.
I learned that one as a butcher.
Okay, so it looks to me that at this point we're shaping the brim, right?
We are going to press the brim with that tool in there that's the shape of Ryder's head, and then it'll hold the shape of his head no matter what we do to it after that.
So now say that I pass that hat down to the 5th Ryer in the lineage, and they've got a totally different shaped head than mine.
I'll change it.
So you can change it after that?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool. So you said that instead of a maker's mark, you've got that purple paisley fabric as your your icon?
And then the crest in the top.
So how did you land on that material for all the liners of your hats?
So I used purple because I went to TCU.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then now, the last couple of years, there's been a trend to use the paisley fabrics for liners. They don't show.
What was that? You just took a giant muffin and...
It is got about 80, maybe 100 pounds of sand in it.
Okay.
And it presses the hat down to that wood form.
Okay, so this is basically, all the sand is applying equal downward pressure all the way around.
Yep.
Okay.
I always thought that these were heated. But
They are.
Oh, they are.
However, that is the #1 way hat shops have burned down.
What?
This machine and leaving it on and it getting too hot with a hat underneath it and catching it on fire.
Yeah, I guess that'll do it. It's fascinating, the shape of that, because it looks like at screen printing shops, they'll do the thing where they'll take the die and push it down, and then if you have like a weirdly shaped, I remember I had walkie-talkies made that had my logo on it, and they would just smoosh it down like that because it just conforms.
I think that's pad printing, right?
Yeah.
It's very similar. You're pressing this out to match the different curves of the different flanges. And you got to know which one to use to get the right amount of curve to get the end shape that you want.
And so right now we're just waiting on,
to cool
off. Because whatever it cools at, that's going to be its shape.
Yep. And the other benefit of the sand being in there is that it pulls heat out.
Oh, of course, yeah, because the sand's going to have cooled off.
Yeah. And once it comes out of here, it'll fit his head perfect.
Look at that. Hold on. How does it fit?
And see how that brim just stays? It doesn't bend down, it doesn't pucker, it doesn't...
I feel like you just had a transformative moment.
It feels really good. It genuinely feels good.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Normally when I put a hat on, it's like it's a little too small, or I'm like, oh, I know it's floppy, it's gonna fall right off, whatever. It is very satisfying. What it kind of feels like is like, you ever had like a leather chair, right, that you sat in for like 20 years or whatever?
Yeah.
Sinks in and he hugs up around you.
It's like a butt groove on your
Yes,
head.
exactly. Yeah. My great uncle Duke had an old Cadillac with leather seats in it, and they fit him perfectly, and no one else could drive it. So
Now it's time to start shaping it up.
Do we get to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stay right there, and I will.
like I already feel like I'm like, yeah, tug the brim, get the shape. Like it already feels right. Like
So we look at here, and we look at your face, and we go there, right? There's the center of your nose.
Yeah.
Now we go up here to where the shaping steamer is at, and we start shaping it up to the style that we talked about.
Take it away.
Take a step back.
Yeah. Whoa.
I mean, unless you want a high-power facial.
That's just steam to make it nice and pliable for you, right?
And you start here.
Oh, it's just by hand.
sculptural. That's
Well, no wonder they're so expensive.
yeah. That's that shape.
Just a minute.
And so every time you steam it to make it a little softer, is that also just a matter of learning the feel over time? And
Yeah. Softer felts need less steam, stiffer felts need more. And because once you start, the whole hat has some steam into it. So you're basically just touching up the next spot you want to shape.
Okay.
So this is where it's more analogous to like cooking the perfect omelet, where it's like there's just a rhythm to it.
Yeah, you only want to do so much. You don't want to let it cool up too much.
So yeah.
But you don't want to get it too hot to where it.
So is this like a process that you wait until after you're closed for the day or something? Because if someone walks in, it can throw you off. Or
Because you can always get it back to where it was.
I keep forgetting that it's like a repliable material.
Yeah. You could be halfway through a painting and then walk away and then come back and say, "Where was I?" I guess unless you're Jackson Pollock or something.
Don't get me started.
We get
CIA funded.
He's not wrong.
No, that is actually a true story.
Wait, was he like a fake artist?
That's up to debate.
Oh my God! That sounds like a whole nother episode.
It's amazing you're in that shape put in. I always, just from watching the movies, I always assumed that was a separate piece that was stitched in and that's why that was there. So other than just style choices, is there a reason why you'd have that shape as opposed to the shape that you have? Or
No, it is all style and what you want the hat to say. The hats come back up in the middle so that you can get them lower and still have room for the top of a person's head. Mm-hmm. That's generally why you go with a teardrop or any shape that comes back up in the middle.
Right.
Is because you want to get it the lower height overall. So really, it's just what somebody wants, what they're willing to wear.
Yeah. Do you have to filter your water at all so you don't get like hard water buildup when
It
you're
is
steaming the
best
hats?
to use distilled. I do about half the time. I flush them regularly.
So what are you looking for right now?
That it lays even or as even as I want it to, because I also feel that there is something attractive in the asymmetrical.
A jaunty angle. How's it look?
Yeah,
Looking good?
it looks freaking
in the mirror.
good. Yeah. I'm such an idiot. I was like, let me take a photo. Or you can look at this reflective surface.
There's mirrors everywhere around here.
It does look pretty good, huh?
It's so amazing.
That's pretty great. In Django Unchained, they had the actor who played the original Django.
Yes.
And he comes and he goes, and Django goes, Django with a D, and he goes, I know. And he like nods. That's what I feel like
D
right
is
now.
silent.
Yes, the D is silent.
That's amazing.
Yes, I know.
All right, let's see this.
And so what do we got here?
I'm just gonna try this for a band on the outside and see what he thinks about it.
Is that just like a leather cord, a little braided cord? Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's do...
I can't believe I'm just now realizing that you're probably not going to put any adhesive or anything on there, right?
Nope. If you tie them tight enough, you don't need it. And that makes it easy to change later.
Yeah, all the hats that I've ever gotten that have had a band or a rib or something like that, at the very least it's tacked down, right?
Yeah.
With a stitch or something. But that's probably just because it's easier to manufacture it that way, right?
Yep. They're not doing it one-offs, one at a time, making sure everything's right. They're doing it fast and getting it out the door.
See, even that was really slick. The way,
Oh, yeah.
with the scissors. Look at that.
There you go.
All right, guys, here we go. You ready? What do you think?
It's amazing.
Does it look good?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. That does look good.
All right, so for everybody out there who wants this exact hat, where should they go right
Well,
now?
they can't have it. It's mine.
They'll have to learn fisticuffsmanship.
Yeah, and I'm not washing the blood out.
And they can get one ordered. They can show me a picture from the video, say, I want a hat like his.
All right. And they go to what website?
Hattersplace.com.
Or show up here in Hutto, Texas, where?
103 East Live Oak, Hutto, Texas.
Dude, this has been a journey. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you so much.
Got another one from the old idea factory. Another guaranteed glam slam. That's right. It's a glam slam. Think about it. Every invention in history. What makes it better? Electricity, blankets. So early Stone Age. You know what's hot? Electric blankets. Hats. They're great. They had their time. Now, behold, the electric hat. Here, hold on, we'll just put this on there. How you like me now? See? Oh, what happens when the battery runs out? Don't worry. Solar charging. Boop. Right there. And in fact, you can use the light to charge itself just like that. Now, I know what you're wondering. You're wondering, Brian, how are you gonna get the word out about your awesome electric hat? And the answer is I'm gonna go to our go-to solution. I'm just now realizing what I've gotten myself into. I'm gonna go to Squarespace. I'm gonna go to squarespace.com/rogue. And I'm gonna use promo code ROGUE at checkout to get 10% off because I know that Squarespace is the scalable solution that takes my genius ideas and gets them out to the entire world. You can head on over to Squarespace. Their beautiful templates are gonna make your design look polished and incredible. And they got robots trained on 20 million years of data. See, now it's hyperbole, so that's gonna make the cut. The distributed hosting is gonna make sure that your website doesn't go down in the event of becoming an overnight global sensation. And as the electric hat community grows, you're gonna need community sections, you're gonna need email providing, and of course you can even register your domain with Squarespace. Plus, think about it, you don't just wanna sell the hat, you wanna sell the t-shirt of the hat. Here's a pose for you. What does it mean? Nobody knows. Squarespace.com/rogue. Spell it right, R-O-G-U-E. And take your idea to the next level. I gotta see what this looks like. Can we start it again? Did the light turn itself off? Was the light even on? God damn it. This is the electric hat. Coming soon to a website near you from Squarespace.
That ad was a glam dunk.
This video was supported in part by viewers like you at patreon.com/modernrogue. If you enjoyed this video, you might be interested to know that we just published a 25-minute guest interview with Jimmy, where, among other things, he talks about the time that he made a hat for an actor you're probably familiar with, who has been knighted.
I feel like more of a black hat cowboy, you know, the bad guy.
Yeah.
Partner.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think you're white hat. I think in the dynamic of traditional Western, I think I'd be black hat, you'd be white hat.
Yeah, I wish I was a red hat guy. Is he a merchant? Is he from out
know
of
what?
town? Is he possibly European?
You may be like Marty McFly in Back to the Future 3 when they're like, I didn't know the circus was in town! With all the fringe and the gloves.
That tracks. Right. And the Adams.
Did you ever watch The Ballad of Buster Scruggs? Kicks the door, but he's like,
Yeah.
that's you.
Yeah, okay.
That is you.
No, I'll cop to that.
Yeah.